All right, next question comes from Jack in Tennessee. He asks, Nick Saban came out and basically said that the Tide should have been in the CFP last year because they would have been favored versus three of the teams. Well, they lost 2 games in the regular season, and as we know, not every school has the same budget for football. So if the playing field isn't even, shouldn't the committee base the playoff on wins instead of recruiting rankings and Vegas odds?
Well, I don't know if he necessarily was saying they basically should be in the college football playoff, but here's the problem with the current 4-team format. Remember, we're adjusting here in a couple of years, so it's going to be less about perception of whether or not your team will perform at a high level. We're going to get the results on the field. So you're no longer going to matter if you're a group of 5 team, because a group of 5 champion will have an automatic qualifier into the playoff. But here's the problem with the whole college football playoff selection committee theories anyways. It's too vague. Right now, everybody, if you just say, hey, 4 best teams, which is exactly what the committee's looking for every single year. I told you back on selection day when we did our show. I told you if the committee would just come out and stop saying 4 best teams. It's not the 4 best teams. It's never been the 4 best teams. It's the 4 most deserving teams. And look, everyone can live with that. And basically, you become deserving based on how you play in the regular season. So I think we just need to just put this whole 4 best teams to bed. It's the 4 teams that they can most easily justify. And that is the teams, that will make the playoff every year. And let's go back. I mean, there have been a few examples, very few examples of it not being the 4 teams that should make the playoffs. Like you can say, okay, well, back in 2014, TCU should have made the playoffs. Okay, fair enough. You could say back in 2016, Penn State should have made the playoffs. Fair enough. They had 2 early season losses and they played unbelievable down the stretch. But either way, they were left out in favor of Ohio State, who they beat, and Ohio State ultimately got drummed in the semifinal game. So either way, the committee could clear all this up. Because right now, all this vagueness when it comes to 4 best, it's like it's never been the 4 best. But if you go by what they're telling us, was Alabama one of the 4 best teams in America last year? Perhaps. I'm not going to make an argument for that. I'm certainly not going to make an argument against that either. Their record, however, at the end of the regular season, was not amongst the 4 best. All you have to do is just come out as a college football playoff committee and say, hey, we're taking the 4 most deserving teams. Or if you want to take it one step further, which is even more accurate, the 4 teams that we can most easily justify without a huge mutiny of college football fans. I think it's as simple as that. But at its core, we embrace debate in the sport. There is a certain level of subjectivity in this sport, and I think the College Football Playoff Committee recognizes that. And they kind of like the arguments that everybody has on Tuesday nights and or Wednesday mornings after they release the rankings every single week. And they certainly like the debate that occurs on the Sunday when the 4 playoff teams are announced. That keeps people angry. It also keeps people excited, and it keeps people on the edge of their seat. So while I think it would be a whole lot clearer if they just come out and say, hey, 4 most deserving teams make it. Simple as that. But I think at their core, they kind of like all the conversation that centers around college football like it has for the last 75, 80, 100 years. We used to vote on national champions. Literally, think about how backwards that is. Vote on national champions. It's absurd. But in our history as a sport, we embrace debate. And I can't say I love it, but I also, at my core, I certainly understand it.